Welcome to the Geek Cabal channel. I'm Bob,
I'm Jim.
and you're about to watch a clip from one of our longer podcast videos since they've been running about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We splice clips out. If you like the whole thing, it'll be linked to in the description. Hopefully, you'll watch it too. It's up to you, though. And since this is YouTube, you know how it goes. If you like what you like here, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But otherwise, hope you enjoy the clip. So yeah, the other thing I've got is this was the title of someone else's video. So apologies because I don't have the. I'll probably try to link it because I really just took the title. I didn't really watch the thing, but this is for Ahsoka. Uh, Carson Teva, who is that one X-wing pilot that's in all these shows, just maybe the one man holding the whole Republic together at this
He's
point.
the only pilot in the Republic.
Yeah, because this guy is everywhere, as we've stated already. But like, this just shouldn't be a thing. And it's one of the ways in which it's going to be a little bit of a rant here, folks. It's one of the ways in which the Star Wars universe is made to feel small. Like, there's just no possibility this one man should be involved in all these things. Okay? It's one thing if it's like Luke Skywalker, okay, and the Force is guiding him to these various places. Okay, fair enough. It strains credulity, but we're talking a mystical energy field that guides fate. Whatever. This is a guy that's supposed to be patrolling like some chunk of space in the Star Wars galaxy.
But but with Luke again, he. I mean, one, he's the main character, and he's putting himself in those. We're following him.
Right.
We're not following.
Right.
We're not.
Yeah, at least not yet. I'm all for Carson Teva getting his own show. I like the actor, I like the guy. I like the whole like the New Republic's like, yeah, sure, this 60-year-old guy's gonna fly an X-wing for us. Why not? And like look at him in his flight suit. Like he's not in good shape, but whatever. He's a space pilot. Worked fine for Porkins up to the end. But
Um, they've done Porkins wrong.
no, they haven't. If you ever read the EU, like all of the time, they mention him all the time in the X-wing books. The old EU, they'll ramble off the names of the people that died on the Death Star run on Yavin, and they'll only name like two or three, and one of them's always Porkins. And finally, in one book, Wedge is like, "Yeah, he's the gravity compensators way too much, though," which was a really nice way of saying that fat bastard. But yeah, no, it just makes everything feel small whenever you have the same feel like background characters everywhere. Like take the Indiana Jones movies. Okay, now it's only one planet, but it's for the most part in the 30s. When yeah, you can hop on a plane, but it takes a while to get there, or a ship takes a while to get there. Does he run into Sala in India in the Temple of Doom? No, because Sala's not in India. Sala's in Egypt. You know, Egypt is not India. Like he's not just trotting the globe with Indy. Maybe on some adventures we haven't seen he did, and that's the implication I got in the latest one, Dial of Destiny. But like even there, he's in New York because he moved to New York. You know, that's why we see him in the movies we see him in, but not the Temple of Doom. And that's why I'm assuming we don't see Short Round in the others, which kind of sucks. That's Indy's real son.
Yeah,
Forget that. We should have brought back Short Round.
yeah. The only way that it would have made sense is if they had established in like the Mandalorian that he was part of General what's her face, Hera. That he was always a part of her.
Yeah,
And maybe they did make a mention where he's like General Syndulla is going to be.
yeah, or maybe he was supposed to have a part in the Rangers show that we're not going to get. Where he would have been assigned to Hera Dune's stuff, and
That,
then it would have made sense to be in all the hot spots.
and that's been. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because I mean, I like Cara Dune as a character. I mean, she was kind of blah, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it sucks we're not getting it because it would have been interesting, and even if they have a problem with Gina Carano, like they could have easily still made a show. You just mention her in the background, say that she's kind of over things, and just go with it because that's what they're going to do with Leia. Like when they mentioned Senator Organa here in Ahsoka, like I have incredible doubt that we're going to see like a posthumous Leia scene in this movie show.
if they do, it's going to be a hologram.
Yeah, it's going to be a hologram, and it's probably going to be who played her in the end scene in Rogue One. Just aged up a little bit.
Her daughter?
Is that her daughter?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it'll probably be her. Aged up a little bit. It'll be like you said, it'll be a hologram. You know, but no, it just like I said, it just makes everything feel small, and you get a little bit of it in the original trilogy with well, let's go back to Tatooine. You know, like Jabba couldn't have been on some other planet.
Well, but it made sense though once they added the scene back in that Jabba was always there, and that
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in that respect, yes, it does, and more so once we get to the prequels, where obviously he's the one there at the race and everything. But it just makes things feel small when you've got literally what millions or billions of planets, and we just go back to the same one. Like come on, like go to Jakku. It's a different desert planet. Well, not yet, but not at that point in time. Because I think it's not till after the big final battle of ultimate destiny that it becomes a desert planet. But yeah, and like I said, I like the guy. You know, I think the actor's okay. He seems to have a good repartee with everyone. And the other downside is if this show follows any kind of logic, like his goose is cooked with the New Republic. Like Hera should be okay taking her own ship to go somewhere. Those guys willingly just left. Those aren't their X-wings. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. But the whole problem is that they're trying to.
The problem is they're idiots.
Well, I would say the problem with the whole show right now is that they're trying to drive a plot, but not in a way that makes any sense. Uh,
Well,
because they realize that if they said, "Oh, we found out where all those stolen hyperdrives are going. It's going to this, giant rain that they're going to supposedly to fly to where we think Thrawn's going to be." Everything I've said is lined up. They're trying to, we said they're trying to get Thrawn back. They're trying to use these hyperdrives to do that. This is the giant hyperdrive ring that's big enough to fit a Star Destroyer in.
right, and that's kind of the other thing is even if as a general she doesn't have the pull, shouldn't she have the hey, I fought for the rebellion since before the Death Star was completed. Doesn't my word count for anything? Can't you just like take it on faith that I'm not lying to you?
And plus, what would have been the harm to say, okay, do like we used to do in the rebellion, take a small squadron and just go and look.
Yeah, well, they'll burn too much hyperfuel.
Then take her own ship.
That was a joke. I think the whole like hyperfuel thing. Well, logically, something like that has to exist. Like the way it was structured in Solo is just stupid. Like, and especially the Last Jedi. Like that stuff should be so plentiful, it's not even funny. Because how'd the rebellion even function if it's that hard to get a hold of? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like it's not that it's not hyperfuel is not a stupid idea in and of itself. Because logically the ships have to run on something. And even if you watch A New Hope, before the X-wings leave Yavin 4, there's what is obviously fuel lines running into them. When
Yeah.
screw into the wings.
Well, and
So like the fact they have fuel isn't a problem. It's just how they've gone about kind of representing it in the movies. And
Well, and the thing is that because they turned Kessel into that instead of the spice mines of Kessel, right?
yeah, well, I think they're still the spice mines though. I think they have both.
Okay. And I mean, I don't get me wrong. I can see fuel being, I mean, we had people that still gasoline, but it's not like you just rob Fort Knox.
Right, like they steal it for like their car, not for like 50 tanks to go somewhere and attack somebody.
Well, there was the one Fast and the Furious where they stole the fuel truck, where then they hook it up to like a pickup, like to a
Yeah, they're in the opening.
yeah. Yeah. By the way, that's where I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Buick Grand National in the beginning of that movie, but that still pissed me off that they like destroyed that black car that Dom was driving because
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of those and seeing somebody just destroy it. That's like the Dukes of Hazzard, just the amount of cars that
Yeah,
they just.
wasn't it? It's something ungodly, right? Like hundreds.
It's hundred. Yeah, it was like a couple hundred of them that they destroyed. Now they weren't all the souped up models. Some of them were just plain models, probably with the V6 engine in them
Yeah.
that they just
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know you're going to use it for a stunt that's going to destroy it, you're not going to use the expensive one.
no. So, but still, That's like the money and cars that they have, and I mean,
There's
especially
just one of the lines in Detroit's just pumping out cars for that show.
yeah. Well, right now the used car market is ridiculous, and especially in collectors' cars.
Oh yeah, well I talk to Chris about it sometimes because he sells cars, and like some of the stuff he tells me, like I think if I recall correctly from the last time I talked to him, there's some features in cars they're still having trouble getting the cars in with all the features because of the chip problem.
That doesn't surprise me, but I like right now, like buying a pickup truck. In the past, you could get a new truck for 40,000, and now they're 60 to 80,000.
Yeah,
And I mean that's a new car, but I mean even like used cars are having the same thing. Like hell, I'm just trying to own a car because I want to trade or get rid of my the Saab that I have just because it keeps having problems and trying to find parts for it. The Saab's been dissolved, and even GM can't. Like none of the GM dealers around here can service it because they don't have the security software to do it. So just trying to find him a used car and like $4,500 for a 10-year-old car that has 160,000 miles on it. And I'm just like, what? Like, where are the $2,000 cars that you could get just so that if they wreck it, you're like, oh, well, I guess it's $2,000 kind of thing.
yeah,
But
those don't exist
no, they
anymore.
don't. At least not in this economy. So
Yeah, no, it's a big issue.
I'm just waiting for zombie movies to make a comeback. Or not zombie, vampire movies.
No, no, it'll be zombie movies because no, it's bad.
I know, but I'm waiting for vampire movies to come back.
Oh, no.
So I'm waiting for the economy to come back around. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Bobby had stated that when the economy is doing good, vampire movies are popular, and when the economy is bad, it's zombie movies.
Yeah, that was a thing I read a few years ago, kind of talking about that, and I'm sure it's one of those like it only roughly charts to that. We'll see because I think it's been a while since we've seen a good zombie movie. I'm trying to think what the actual like last theatrically released one would have been. Like I'm sure there have been some, but there's not a lot of them like I would expect.
So that's probably why the last voyage of Demeter didn't do as well because the economy wasn't right for it.
Probably, yeah. uh, Probably Renfield too.
Because well, not Renfield, but that movie supposedly, the last voyage, got decent reviews from what I saw.
Yeah, I thought both movies were decent movies. We went to go watch Renfield, and we did Sarah and I went to go watch Last Voyage of the Demeter, and like I thought they were both okay. Both worthwhile seeing. Uh, but apparently everyone wants to go see Barbie, so whatever.
Well, I don't know. I wish that we would have a renaissance in movies again. We need to have that. I know that we can't quite go back to you're not going to get a Tropic Thunder. It's not going to happen. But
I not from a mainstream movie. Like you could still see that from an indie studio, and it could really like catch on if it's allowed to be put anywhere. Uh,
I mean, like you're like Big Trouble in Little China. I don't say we need a remake, but we need movies like that. We need a movie that is just a fun sit down watch. There is no message to be given. It's just a story that wants to be told. It tells a story. It tells it well, and that's it. And don't go for $1 billion that you have to get in the theaters for it to turn a profit.
yeah, did you watch that video I sent about the Star Wars movies?
Yes.
Yeah, now we'd have to go over the math these people use, but apparently the five Disney Star Wars movies cost an absolutely insane amount of money to make because they produced four of the five or all five, and they produced them partially in England because you get tax credits. Well, the problem for them is you have to report the entire cost of the movie to the authorities there in England. Whenever you do this, you make another production company. You don't do it under like Disney. And people figured out what the production companies were called, so they're able to get the tax records. And these movies have budgets way higher than what they were publicly reported as. Now, That's the slightly questionable part because there's not just the conversion, but I think they also adjusted for inflation, which is very questionable right now, particularly. But even without doing that, it's still higher than what they reported. And their overarching point was, well, they spent $4.5 billion to acquire Star Wars, well, all of Lucasfilm, and they haven't even put a dent in paying that down yet because they maybe, and I stress maybe, have broken even on the movies. And you don't spend billions of dollars to break even. That's before you get into spending $1 billion on the Galaxy Cruiser that they just totally shut down.
Yeah.
Another billion at each of the theme parks for things that have basically been shut down. That's all money that has not been spent, not been recouped.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that they said that if they just had
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
bought the rights, and then just sat on it,
yeah.
the residuals would have.
Well, no, their point there wasn't that they were going to make more money; it's they would have lost less money because once you start factoring in the theme parks, factoring in the fact that toys presently aren't selling nearly as well, or at least the ones based on their movies aren't,
No.
and a few other things, like they're definitely way in the red. Whereas had they just bought it and just sat on it, they would have only been in the red for the expense of the movies, and then they would have slowly started getting money back just by airing the movies on TV or something, or releasing them from the vault on Blu-ray, whatever, and just making toys based on the 6 movies Lucas made, and just not smashing the EU.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like if you go to bookstores, what are the books that are just clogging up the shelves? It's the new crap. Meanwhile, the EU books are selling, because people liked them. So that's the pickle Disney finds themselves in. Is the things they have made just have not scored well. Like they seem to have a good thing with the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. Then they kind of dropped the ball in the third season. Andor gets high critical praise, and I think it's great. But not a lot of people have watched it. And then Ahsoka so far isn't being compared to Mandalorian season 3, so at least it's got that going for it. Um, and then of their movies, it seems like a lot of people like Rogue One. Some people like Solo. Some people like The Force Awakens. But then the other two just do not have a big fan following at all, and that's bad
No.
because like somehow movie 9, the wrap up of the Skywalker saga, like what at one point in time was the biggest thing in movies, somehow underperformed. Like that's all you need to know as far as how much of a trash heap they made. The dumpster fire, I should say.
Yeah, and like I said, there was an article that supposedly that Disney only has like 200 million in liquid assets.
Yeah, yeah, they're in a bind because of the Comstar thing. Comstar, no, that's BattleTech. Uh, Hulu with Comcast, I think, because whenever they bought Fox, that gave them another third of control of Hulu. But part of the deal was they were going to have to buy the remaining third because the other company wasn't just going to play second banana to Disney. And the other company's like, all right, time to buy. And Disney's like, all right, we'll give you like $8 billion. And they're like, yeah, more like 28 billion. And Disney's like, whoa, no, I don't think so. So that's going to arbitration. But if it's anywhere even close to the halfway point, Disney doesn't have that money laying around.
No,
They'll have to borrow it.
they'll have to buy a company and then sell the company as asset.
Yeah.
I say that because that's what happened to Toys R Us. I mean,
Yeah, they'll buy a company, take out a bunch of loans through that company, and then be like, "Oh, the company's bankrupt. Where'd all that money go?" And then like a totally unrelated story. We have the money to buy that company now.